Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Y&R Trends. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The air in the hospital room was thick with tension, almost suffocating, as the truth teetered on Sienna Bacall's trembling lips. The walls themselves seemed to close in as Noah Newman stood by the window, arms folded tight, trying to steady his breath while Matt Clark, known to some as Mitch Bacall, paced like a caged animal. The silence between them was the kind that cuts deep, the kind that speaks louder than words. Both men had come here demanding the truth. They had been living in limbo for weeks, arguing, accusing, doubting, all over a baby whose paternity had become the most explosive mystery in Genoa City. In addition, Sienna's trembling voice, tear-filled eyes, and shaking hands indicated that the time they had all dreaded had come. "I lied to you both," she whispered, her voice cracking under the weight of her guilt. The words sliced through the room, stopping Matt dead in his tracks and making Noah slowly turn toward her, his expression hardening. "What are you saying?" Noah asked cautiously, though part of him already feared the answer. Matt's fists clenched at his sides, the veins in his neck straining. "You told me I was the father," he growled, his voice low and angry. "Then you told him he was. Sienna, what kind of sick game is this?" Tears streaked Sienna's cheeks as she tried to speak, her voice trembling like a fragile thread ready to snap. "It wasn't a game," she insisted, almost pleading. "I was unable to communicate with you. I didn't want to destroy everything." The emotion surged through her, regret, shame, fear, as she looked between the two men who had both once claimed her heart in different ways. She had told herself for weeks that keeping the secret would protect everyone. But lies always find their way to the surface, and this one was about to blow every life in its path apart. Noah stepped closer, his eyes filled with confusion and heartbreak. "Sienna, just tell us the truth. Please. Who's the father?" The sound of desperation in his voice made her flinch. She couldn't bring herself to look at either man for a long, hard moment. The air around her felt electric, charged with anticipation and dread. Finally, she took a shaky breath, her voice breaking as she uttered the words that would change everything. "It's not Noah. It's not Matt. It's Holden." Silence. Pure, heavy silence. Even the rhythmic beeping of the hospital monitor seemed to pause for a beat, as if stunned by the bombshell she had just dropped. Noah blinked as though he hadn't heard her right. "What did you just say?" he demanded, his voice rising with disbelief. Matt's eyes widened in fury, his jaw tightening as if he were about to explode. "Holden? You mean Holden King?" He spat, his voice thick with contempt. "That's impossible." But it wasn't impossible, and Sienna's tearful nod confirmed it. "It's true," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Holden is the father." The revelation hit Noah like a physical blow. His knees nearly buckled as he stumbled back a step, shaking his head in disbelief. "Holden," he repeated, almost laughing in shock. "You mean the guy who's been helping you, protecting you, the one I trusted?" The betrayal cut deep. Noah had thought of Holden as a reluctant ally, someone who had stepped in during the chaos caused by Matt's manipulations and Sienna's mysterious past. But now everything made sense. Holden had always been there for Sienna when she needed someone. His concern seemed to go further than friendship and the late-night visits. Matt wasn't as stunned, he was furious. He stormed toward Sienna, his voice shaking with rage. "You're telling me that while I was rotting in my own lies, thinking I was that baby's father, he was the one you were sleeping with? You said you didn't even like him." His voice cracked, the anger barely masking the pain beneath it. "You made me believe there was something real between us." Sienna's sobs came harder now as she clasped her hands together. "It wasn't meant to happen," she cried. "Matt, I was falling apart. Everything was collapsing. You know the lies about Mitch Bacall, everything. Holden was there for me when no one else was. He didn't ask questions, he didn't judge me. I didn't plan it. It just happened." Her voice dropped to a whisper, filled with remorse. "And now, because of one mistake, everyone's paying the price." Noah's expression hardened, his pain turning to quiet anger. "One oversight," he said, his voice low and cold. "You think this was a mistake, Sienna? You let me believe I was going to be a father. You let me hold on to hope, even after everything we went through. After the crash, after the lies, After you swore there was nothing else I didn't know. He took a deep breath, trying to keep himself from breaking down. I defended you when everyone said you were hiding something. I told my family you'd changed. And now this. His voice cracked and he turned away, unable to look at her. Matt let out a bitter laugh. So that's it, huh? The perfect little Holden King. He swoops in and takes everything that was mine. First he plays the hero, then he plays daddy. Typical. He shook his head, rage flashing in his eyes. You always knew how to pick them, Sienna. Congratulations. You've finally destroyed us all. Sienna tried to reach for him, but he stepped back. Matt, please. Don't, he warned, his voice trembling. You don't get to say my name right now. He turned toward Noah, his tone dripping with venom. Guess we were both fools, huh? Fighting over a woman who was never really ours. In that room there was complete emotional destruction. Sienna stood in the center of it, her body shaking, her heart splintering under the weight of what she had done. She had lied to protect Holden, or maybe even herself, but now that both men were shattered in front of her, she realized that no one could be saved from the truth. Outside the room, whispers had already begun to circulate. Word was spreading fast. Sienna Bacall had just dropped a paternity bombshell that no one saw coming. Holden King, the man who'd been arrested days earlier under mysterious circumstances, was the father of her child. And suddenly everything about his actions made sense. His protectiveness, his defiance, even his willingness to take the fall for things he hadn't done. Back inside, Sienna wiped her tears, her voice soft but steady. Holden didn't know, she confessed. I didn't tell him. He thought the baby was yours, Noah. By avoiding it, he was attempting to act morally. Her eyes pleaded for understanding that would never come. He was trying to protect me. And the baby. Noah's voice was a whisper now, full of sorrow. You think this protects anyone? He shook his head, tears glistening in his eyes. You've just destroyed every bit of trust left between us. Between any of us. Sienna covered her face, sobbing. I know. I am aware of it. But I couldn't lie anymore. Not when everything's falling apart. Matt crossed his arms, his bitterness barely contained. So what now, Sienna? You gonna run to Holden's side? Wait for him to play family with you? Because let me tell you something, guys like him don't stick around. Not when the truth gets this ugly. But even as he said it, everyone in that room knew Holden wasn't like that. He might have had his demons, but when it came to loyalty, he'd always done what he thought was right, even when it cost him everything. And if Sienna's baby was his, there was no doubt he'd fight tooth and nail to be part of that child's life. Just then, the door creaked open, and as if the universe had timed it perfectly, Holden himself appeared in the doorway, his expression unreadable. His clothes were disheveled, his face pale, but his eyes, those piercing, conflicted eyes, locked immediately on Sienna's. The air went still again. Noah froze. Matt glared. And Sienna could barely breathe. Holden, she whispered. He stepped inside slowly, his voice quiet but commanding. I heard everything. No one spoke. The tension in the room thickened until it felt like the air might shatter. Holden took a long, unsteady breath before meeting Sienna's gaze again. It's true, he asked. The baby's mine? Sienna nodded weakly, her tears falling freely now. Yes, it's you, Holden. You are the dad. Holden's jaw tightened, his eyes clouding with emotion. For a moment he said nothing, just stared at her as if trying to process the magnitude of it all. When he finally spoke, his voice trembled with a mix of heartbreak and awe. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want to ruin your life, she sobbed. You had enough going on, the arrest, the accusations, everything. I thought keeping it secret would protect you. Holden's expression softened, pain flickering behind his eyes. Sienna, you don't protect people by lying to them, he said quietly. You just make it worse. Noah stood frozen, his chest heaving as he tried to absorb everything that had just unraveled. Matt, on the other hand, scoffed bitterly. Oh, this is rich, he muttered. The hero gets the girl and the baby. What a fitting conclusion. But Holden didn't take the bait. His focus stayed on Sienna, on the woman who had just turned his world upside down with 6 words. If that baby's mine, he said finally, his tone steady and full of quiet determination, then I'm not walking away. I'll take responsibility. Whatever happens next, I'm in. Sienna looked up at him through her tears, her expression a mix of shock and relief. Noah closed his eyes, swallowing hard, while Matt turned away in disgust. The truth was out, and nothing would ever be the same again. As the camera of life metaphorically zoomed out on the wreckage of 3 broken hearts, the echo of Sienna's confession lingered like thunder. It's not Noah. It's not Matt. It's Holden. And somewhere deep inside her, despite the chaos, Sienna knew that the storm she had unleashed was only beginning. The truth may have set her free, but it had imprisoned everyone else in its devastating aftermath. Because in Genoa City, secrets always come out. But this paternity bombshell would shake every corner of their lives for a long, long time to come. Holden stood frozen, the weight of Sienna's confession pressing down on his chest like an avalanche. The room seemed to spin as the truth settled in. He was the father. After everything, after months of lies, chaos, and near-death disasters, this was the moment that stripped everything bare. Noah's heart pounded, Matt's fury burned, and Sienna could barely stand beneath the heaviness of her own guilt. No one moved, no one breathed. It was as if time itself had stopped to make room for the fallout of her words. Noah was the first to break the silence, his voice trembling with disbelief. You mean to tell me that all this time, all this fighting, all this pain you knew? He looked directly at Holden now, eyes filled with betrayal and heartbreak. Did you know, Holden? Did you know that baby was yours while you were standing there pretending to be my friend? Holden's eyes widened, genuine shock cutting through his expression. No, he said firmly, shaking his head. I swear to you, Noah, I didn't know. I thought you were the father. Sienna made sure of that. Sienna flinched. Her sobs came again, uncontrollable now. I didn't want to hurt either of you, she cried. You both meant something to me, but Holden, what happened between us wasn't supposed to. Matt's bitter laugh cut her off like a blade. Wasn't supposed to happen? Oh, that's rich. You keep saying that like it makes it better. You didn't accidentally sleep with the guy, Sienna. You made a choice. His tone was scathing, his voice rising with every word. You played us all like fools. Holden, Noah, and I all became accustomed to your twisted little game. Holden stepped forward, his voice steady but laced with warning. That's enough, Matt. With rage in his eyes, Matt turned on him. Don't you dare tell me what's enough, King. You waltz in here like some noble hero, but you're no better than the rest of us. You couldn't resist playing savior, could you? Always there to pick up the pieces, always ready to help. His voice dripped with sarcasm. Yes, we are all aware of the kind of assistance you were providing her now. Despite Holden's clenched jaw, he did not respond to the insult. He gave Sienna, who was shaking uncontrollably, a simple glance. He's not wrong, she whispered through tears. I ought to have told you both. I should have told everyone the truth before it got this far. Anger gave way to something more sinister. Heartbreak. He stared at her, his voice low and broken. We talked about raising that baby together. We imagined what it would be like to start over and forget the lies. You looked me in the eyes, Sienna. You told me it was mine. I know, she sobbed, clutching her stomach instinctively, as though the baby inside her could feel her pain. I was scared, Noah. I didn't know how to tell you after everything that happened with the crash, with Matt, with Holden. I thought if I said it out loud, I'd lose everyone. You already have, Noah said softly, the words cutting through the air like a knife. Matt scoffed once more while pacing as if trapped in a cage like a storm. So Holden's the father. That explains everything. The late-night phone calls, the way he was always checking in, the way he looked at you when he thought no one noticed. I knew something was off. Sienna couldn't deny it. Every stolen glance, every quiet conversation she'd had with Holden now flashed before her eyes. The nights he'd comforted her when she was unraveling. The moments that blurred the line between friendship and something far more dangerous. It hadn't started as love or even attraction. It had started with 2 broken people finding solace in each other. But in the aftermath of chaos, when emotions run wild and wounds are still raw, one night of comfort had led to a lifetime of consequences. Holden finally spoke again, his voice rough. I didn't know the baby was mine, but I'm not walking away from this. Not from you and not from the child. Sienna's head snapped up, eyes wide with disbelief. You still want to be part of this after everything? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Holden nodded, though his expression was heavy with pain. It's not the baby's fault what happened, and I won't abandon my child. Not now, not ever. Noah let out a humorless laugh, tears brimming in his eyes. Of course you won't. You'll step right into the role, won't you? The hero who saves the day, the one who fixes everything. Well, good luck with that. He turned to Sienna, his expression breaking apart. I can't even look at you right now. You lied to my face. You let me believe I had a future with you, with that baby. You let me fall in love with something that was never real. Sienna reached for him, but he pulled away. Noah, please. Don't, he said sharply, his voice trembling. You had a choice, Sienna. And every time you could have told the truth, you chose the lie instead. That's who you are. Matt, meanwhile, leaned against the wall, his arms crossed and his jaw tight. Guess that makes 3 of us who got burned, he muttered. You know, I actually thought we were building something real too, me and you, Sienna. But turns out, I was just another pawn in your little tragedy. Sienna's sobs filled the room again. I didn't mean to hurt you, any of you, she said. However, everything spiraled so quickly. I didn't even know I was pregnant until after Holden was arrested. By then, I thought maybe it really could have been Noah's. I wanted it to be Noah's. I wanted to believe there was still something good left after everything. Holden's voice softened, though his eyes were full of conflict. Sienna, stop punishing yourself. What's done is done. All that matters now is the baby. Noah's voice hardened. No, Holden. What matters now is the truth. And you being man enough to take responsibility for the mess you helped create. That touched a nerve, but Holden did not respond violently. He just nodded slowly. You're right. I'll take responsibility for my actions, for Sienna, and for the baby. He looked at her again, emotion flickering in his eyes. But don't twist this into something it's not, Noah. You and I both know what Sienna went through. She's been through hell. I won't let you turn this into another attack on her. Noah's jaw clenched. I'm not attacking her. I'm facing reality. You're the father, Holden. She's yours. The baby's yours. And I'm done. With that, he turned and walked out, slamming the door behind him. The sound echoed through the hallway, leaving a haunting silence in its wake. Matt's expression hardened even more. Guess that's my cue too, he said bitterly. I've had enough of this circus. He started toward the door, then paused to throw one last glance over his shoulder. You two deserve each other. And with that, he was gone. The door clicked shut, leaving Sienna and Holden alone in the quiet. For the first time since her confession, she felt like she could breathe, even if that breath came with the sting of heartbreak. Holden moved closer, gently placing a hand on her arm. She didn't pull away. You're shaking, he murmured. Sit down before you fall. She sank into the chair beside the hospital bed, burying her face in her hands. I never wanted it to end like this, she whispered. I never wanted to lose everyone. Holden crouched in front of her, his voice low but steady. You didn't lose everyone. I'm still here. Her eyes met his, full of tears and confusion. Why? After everything I've done, after all the lies, why are you still here? Holden sighed, the corners of his mouth twitching with sadness. Because I care about you, Sienna. Maybe more than I should. But that doesn't change the fact that we created a life together. That baby deserves the truth, no matter how messy it is. Sienna's heart broke all over again. I ruined everything, she whispered. Noah despises me. Matt will never forgive me. And now you're stuck in this disaster because of me. Holden shook his head. Don't say that. This isn't about blame anymore. It's about what comes next. We cannot alter what transpired, but we can choose how we proceed. Her hand instinctively landed on her belly as she looked down. I don't even know where to start. Holden extended his hand to cover hers. Start with the truth. From now on, no more lies. Not between us. Her lip quivered and she nodded slowly. Okay. For a long moment they sat in silence. The chaos of the day seemed to fade just a little, replaced by the quiet hum of the hospital around them. Holden watched her, his thoughts spinning. He had never planned for this. Never imagined that a single night would lead to a lifetime connection. But now, looking at Sienna, seeing the fragility and strength intertwined within her, he knew he couldn't walk away. Meanwhile, outside the hospital, Noah stood in the cold night air, his mind replaying every word, every lie, every moment that had led to this heartbreak. Nick's face goes pale. For a long time he can't say anything. The truth is something he's always known could come out someday, but hearing it spoken aloud, hearing the pain in Noah's voice, cuts him deeply. I see, he says finally, his voice quiet. Noah steps forward, his anger breaking through his sadness. You knew, didn't you? Nick exhales heavily. Not at first, he admits. But after a while, yeah. I suspected. Your mom was scared. She didn't want to talk about it, but I could see the truth in her eyes. Noah shakes his head, tears streaming down his face. And you just went along with it? I loved you, Nick says fiercely. From the moment I held you, I didn't care whose blood you had. You were my son, Noah. You still are. Noah's chest tightens. How can you say that? He asks bitterly. Everything I thought I knew about who I am. It's all a lie. Nick stands and crosses the room, placing a firm hand on Noah's shoulder. He says softly, No, it's not a lie. I changed your diapers. I taught you how to ride a bike. I held you when you cried. You carry my heart, even if you don't carry my DNA. Blood doesn't make a father, Noah. Love does. The words hit Noah hard. He looks at Nick, this man who's always been his rock, his guide, his safe place, and his anger falters. He collapses into Nick's arms, sobbing like the child he used to be. I don't know who I am anymore, he whispers. Nick holds him tight. You're Noah Newman, he says firmly. That hasn't changed. And no matter what happens, you'll always be my son. Back at Crimson Lights, Sharon and Matt sit in silence until Matt finally stands, pushing his chair back. I have to go see him, he says. He deserves to hear it from me. Sharon hesitates, fear flashing in her eyes. He's hurting right now. Maybe give him time. Matt shakes his head. No. Time's what I've already stolen from him. I'm not stealing anymore. Before she can stop him, he's gone. When Matt arrives at Nick's house, the air is thick with tension. When Nick sees who it is, his expression turns grim as he opens the door. You've got some nerve showing up here, Nick says flatly. I'm not here to fight, Matt replies, his voice low and tired. I just need to see Noah.